Lexus LX600 vs Toyota LandCruiser LC300 comparison review. Toyota's long-awaited LandCruiser 300 has a dizygotic twin, but is the Lexus LX a costly exercise in badge engineering or an informed alternative? The iconic Toyota LandCruiser is as true blue Australian as a Christmas Day Pavlova and Barnaby Joyce. In other words, not very Australian at all. Trivia people will be able to tell you that the Pavlova was named after Russian dancer Anna Pavlova and may or may not have originated in New Zealand in the early 1900s, but, in reality, the recipe is far older than that and probably came from Germany. And, before an embarrassing revelation in 2017, many might also have assumed the same of Joyce, who claimed to be as Aussie as a Vegemite-flavored boomerang. But a discovery that he was equal parts Kiwi turned his ruddy face a brighter shade of red than normal. It's kind of the same story for the Cruiser. Scuff through the red dirt of the outback into any bush garage worth its salt and I guarantee the sunburnt grease wizard will know the head bolt torque sequence for a LandCruiser better than a Barra. While, out on the track, many modified 4x4 enthusiasts are familiar with the humbling feeling of summiting a particularly tricky trail, only to find a completely stock LandCruiser has beaten them to it. The LandCruiser is so intrinsically woven into the Australian automotive tapestry that it's very easy to forget that the Toyota, of course, harks from Japan. The same, however, cannot yet be said for its plus-size SUV sibling. There's been so much fanfare surrounding the introduction of the new 300 series LandCruiser, that the very closely related Lexus LX has failed to grab anywhere near as much attention. But if you're interested in Toyota's honorary Australian, shouldn't you also give the all-new Lexus a look too? The answer is yes, as long as you have the budget. The 2022 Toyota LandCruiser range kicks off with the GX, but regardless of which of the 6 variants interest you, all are powered by a new 3.3-liter twin-turbo V6 diesel. It's the same story for the entry point of the LX range with 3 LX500D options all powered by the same drivetrain. However, there are significant differences in pricing. While the most affordable Toyota costs $89,990, the Lexus lineup kicks off from $148,800. To level the playing field in this evaluation, we've grabbed the range-topping LandCruiser Sahara LX, which is priced from $138,790, and from the Lexus lineup we have the $169,300 LX600 Sports Luxury. If this comparison was purely about price, we could have opted for the cheapest Lexus for a closer money match, but it's not. Unlike the LandCruiser range, stepping up to the middle of the LX family introduces a new engine, a 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 that sips on petrol rather than diesel. While diesels were once the indisputable hard workers and petrols traditionally synonymous with sophistication, does this brace of box-fresh motors prove the rule or change it? We head to the vineyards around Macedon to find out. Let's start with the proverbial engine elephant in the room. V8 diehards lament the passing of the 4.5-liter V8 diesel available in the previous LandCruiser 200, but they will find themselves decidedly dry-eyed after getting behind the wheel of the 300. While the new donk is down on displacement, it is a vastly improved unit and the figures don't lie. Compared with the old 4.5-liter V8, the new 3.3-liter V6 produces 227 kilowatts and 700 Newton-meters, 27 kilowatts and 100 Newton-meters more, but asks for less fuel in the process. The claim is just 8.9 liters per 100 kilometers, very respectable if true for a vehicle that weighs not a lot more than 2.6 tons and has proportions that definitely don't prioritize minimal wind resistance. Engine performance is surprisingly not wildly different for the Lexus despite its opposite diet. With 3.5 liters and a pair of turbos at its disposal, the LX600 produces 305 kilowatts and 650 Newton-meters, but where the numbers definitely don't align is fuel consumption. With 2,640 kilograms to lug around, the V6 will use 12.1 L, 100 kilometers on the combined cycle, says its maker. The surprises continue in practice. As you might expect, the 6-pot diesel provides mountainous torque and pulling power when under the bonnet of the Toyota. A pair of small but eager turbos whisk up the full might of 750 Newton-meters from just 1,600 revolutions per minute, and the LandCruiser builds speed surprisingly quickly for a 2,610 kilograms bruiser. It's by no means the most refined 6-cylinder diesel, with plenty of classic compression ignition clatter throughout the reverend range and a note that never mutes. What noise the V6 makes, however, is pleasantly satisfying. It doesn't mind irreverent but hanging around the rafters with Toyota's strong diesel as to waste its bountiful swaths of torque. It pairs very nicely with the new 10-speed automatic transmission which, at low throttle, shifts almost imperceptibly and allows the torquey motor to hunt the higher gears and keep the revs low. An occasional reluctance to shift and a clunkiness when prodded were the only small anomalies. The similarities continue with the Lexus's V6. Rather than some high-revving power player that wants to sit at 6,000 revolutions per minute all day, the 3.5-liter petrol has been engineered to deliver its performance in a more diesel-y fashion. There's a little more lag than the Toyota's engine, but when its two small turbos are singing, the grunt is impressive. Even more eye-opening is how the Lexus moves in a straight line. Despite its heft, the LX600 will crack 100 km per hour from standstill in just 7.0 seconds, and there's something deeply amusing about a slab-sided family mover cutting passes like a hot hatch. Unfortunately, the engine isn't as happy revving as it is delivering low smooth performance with secondary vibrations starting to sneak in above 3,500 revolutions per minute. Unlike the LandCruiser, the Lexus has steering wheel paddle shifters, and while they don't really impart a sportier feel over the Toyota, they are useful for grabbing another gear to keep the revs in the sweeter part of the range. During our time with the pair of Hulks, both SUVs reported higher than average fuel consumption claims of about 11 100 km for the Toyota versus around the 14 100 km mark for the Lexus. From the driver's seat, both vehicles initially feel very similar, from the bonnet philtrum and elevated driving position to the all-round visibility and cabin space. It's obvious this pair has a lot in common, but, that said, there is still plenty to set them apart. While the LandCruiser has comfortable seating, the LX offers excellent support and ergonomics in typical Lexus form. Its dash is also a complete rethink of the Toyotas with nothing to relate the two. Both feature 50/50 digital and traditional instrument clusters, wide touchscreen central displays and logical layouts, but the Lexus is better executed and feels more premium. In place of the Toyota's push-button climate controls, the Lexus has a third digital screen, while its main information and entertainment system is sharper and more intuitive. Other tech advantages over the LandCruiser include a digital rear-view mirror, a 360-degree camera that can make the Lexus appear transparent in the maneuvering display, and finer quality leather. As a further indication of the Lexus's more prestigious approach, the Toyota gets a decent JBL sound system and an amusing CD player, while the LX is equipped with Mark Levinson audio gear, which is about the best in the ICE game. In the second row, however, the experience is virtually identical. Both cars were fitted with the optional entertainment pack, which adds a screen for each of the outer seats. The climate panel is unchanged, and both get a clever third button that allows rear passengers to access the icebox between the two front seats. While interior space is generous, including 1,210 mm of height and 1,630 mm in width, the overall cabin feel isn't quite as cavernous as the exterior implies. That is, however, until you get to the boot, where both cars offer in excess of 1,100 liters of volume. A 7-seat is available, which shrinks space to just 174 liters when all three rows are in place, or 982 L when stowed. A clear practical difference becomes clear when wanting to exploit the maximum cabin space and fold the second row. While the Lexus has remote seat release buttons which automatically roll the front seats out of the way, Toyota owners must manually move the front pew before the rear seat can be folded. However, the Toyota trumps the Lexus with seats that can be tumbled forward after folding, liberating extra boot space, 2052L compared with 1960L. From the initial apparent similarities, the LX600 and LandCruiser disparity is shaping up, but even more so when it comes to ride. It's unlikely these big bruisers will ever be hustled along with quite the gusto we subjected them to, but the new TNGA underpinnings cope well with a bit of pace. Yes, there's the roll and dive you will be expecting, but also an unexpected composure. The Toyota negotiates twisty roads using weight transfer, roll and dive a little like a rally car, while the LX tries to stay flat and resistant in a more car-like manner. With less weight to haul up, the Toyota is the more confident under braking, and its balance is more neutral in corners, while the Lexus tries to understeer with the application of power mid-corner.